Casting resin is a fairly straightforward process. Here we are demonstrating the two-part mash mold process. To begin creating the mold, the part masters are embedded in plasticine clay and a form is placed around them. Rods have been inserted to provide escape channels for the extra resin when it comes time to pour the mold. The RTV rubber is then mixed and poured into one corner of the mold. Simply let the rubber flow around the parts, then let the rubber set for 12 hours. Carefully separate the mold from the clay. You can see the clean separation. The metal rods are still in the mold and can now be removed. The channels created by these rods will allow the excess resin to escape when the mold is filled. Now the patterns are placed inside the first half of the mold and a mold release agent is applied. Another form is placed around the mold and you can now pour the second batch of rubber. You can now carefully separate the mold halves. You are now ready to mix and pour your resin. Carefully follow the instruction for mixing the resin and the catalyst and allow the mixture to settle for several minutes so the air bubbles can escape.
All right, we've given this resin more than enough time to break up any bubbles. We'll just go ahead and ladle it in there. More than enough. Now the virtue of being clear is that you can see any bubbles that might be clinging to these cavities in the mold. Of course you got to reach in there and bust those out. And that's what I'm doing here. Pulling the bubbles away from the work. And with a more pointed version of a stick. Chasing out the more tenacious bubbles. Not dragging the stick across the rubber, but poking into it. Not enough to cut it, but enough to worm out any bubbles that are clinging. A little extra resin doesn't hurt. Better too much than too little here. Okay, this is where the art part comes in. Take one very carefully and mash it into the yellow one. Now you remember those little channels I provided, huh? Well, you got some right there. And that's where the excess resin runs, is around the sides and up through these vents. Now what I'm going to do is put a weight on top of this. What's the name? Mash mold. There we go. Right on top of there. And that's it.
When the resin has set, you can carefully separate your mold halves and your parts are complete.